It's been quite some time since you guys saw anything with the XR150, but that all changes today. I mean, obviously, you're literally seeing it right now. It's right here. But anyway, today we are getting back to work on the XR150 and we're doing some cheap and easy power mods. And when I say cheap, I mean some of them are even free. Today we're going to be taking some stuff off of the bike to unrestrict the airbox, then we're going to be rejetting it finally. I've been meaning to do this ever since I put the new exhaust on it, and we're also going to be throwing on a new mid-pipe. Now the airbox mod and the rejetting should definitely show us some increases in power and responsiveness, or at least as much of an increase as you can get out of a 150, but the mid-pipe won't. So I'll explain that when we get to it. Let's jump straight into it. It is windy as all hell, and hopefully the tripod's not blowing around. Let's get it. We're going to start off with the airbox mod because it's the easiest and cheapest, aka free. And to get to the airbox, you got to take the seat off, which is super simple. You just have a 10 milli vanilli bolt right here and another one on the same spot on the other side. Then we're going to pop these side panels off, and underneath there you'll see 2 bolts on each side that'll take the seat off. So with the seat off, you're going to see the airbox right here, and the main thing that we're going to be taking off is this snorkel right here. Lots of bikes come with these snorkels from the factory, and honestly, I'm not sure what the purpose of it is other than just restricting airflow, maybe for emissions reasons, who knows. But on most bikes, one of the first things that you do is you take the snorkel off, and it just helps airflow and helps power. So that's exactly what we're going to try on this. And I may be wrong, but I think if you grab onto it and just give it a nice little tug, yep, there we go. Pops right out. So with that snorkel popped off, you can see there's a big old hole there that leads straight into the intake. Some people say that the snorkel's there to prevent water from getting in there for river crossings and blah, blah, blah. But honestly, I think if the water's getting up there enough to affect anything, you probably have bigger issues on your hands anyway. And comparing that big old opening to the snorkel that I showed you earlier, you can definitely see how it throttles things back. So hopefully that should let a lot more air into the engine, meaning more power. Now, apparently in addition to this restrictive snorkel, there's also some sort of screen underneath the air filter that we can take off and open it up even more. So to get to that, we just have to take off these 4 screws right here. Voila. And now these 4 screws right here come out, and we'll be able to get the air filter out of the way. Okay, then the filter pops off, and that's the screen we're looking for, I guess. Okay, now is this as simple as the snorkel where we just grab on and pluck it? Oh, that's not even attached to it. Do I just go like that? I don't know. We might have to take this top part off right here. It seems like it's like sandwiched in between this part and that part, but I feel like it would be easier to just tug it, so we'll try again before we resort to that. Oh. Okay, so I'm out here trying to take the whole thing off and having some trouble, and then I looked on the forums and it said that everybody just smashes it out, which is like the first route I was going with, so... Ooh. Ow. That's much easier. Okay, so yeah, I thought I was being sketchy by trying to smash it / pull it out, but apparently that is the way that you do it. Obviously you can't pull it because the metal's too thin and it's held on by 4 plastic points there, but essentially you just get something big and smash down on it and it'll come out. It just has these like little plastic tabs that will break off. These both broke off on the back side. These both broke off on the front side. You can see both of them down in there. We got one of them, and the second one right there. The air pickup's all the way over there, so you don't have to worry about them dropping down in there and falling into something that they shouldn't, but it's still a good idea to get them out. And the reason for getting this out of the way, obviously, as you can see, it's all like mesh metal, so this restricts airflow as well, so you take it out, you get better airflow. So we got the airbox put back together, minus the restrictions, of course, and now that we have more air flowing in thanks to that, and more air flowing out thanks to the Yoshi pipe, there's one thing left to do. And that would be to get into that carburetor right there and rejet it with a new main and pilot jet to make up for the added airflow with more fuel. Okay, so this is the carburetor right here. Whoa, how am I bleeding just from what I've done already? Ow. Anyway, this is the carburetor right here, and we need to get inside of it to switch out the jets. I've actually never done this before, so wish me luck. Now, Mishmash Moto has a really good video on taking it off. As you can see, there's a bunch of hoses and stuff connected to it, and he pops all those off to get to it. But from what I've heard, some people have been able to get to it without taking all that off. I think some people have only undone this pipe and then detached it right there and kind of rotated it towards you, and you can change out the jets like that. But I have another idea that might not work, but I guess time will tell. So hear me out, and this might be a stupid idea because like I said, I've never done this before, so I'm sure some of you are watching this going, why are you doing that? But you know, sometimes you gotta learn on your own. I feel like I don't even need to detach it from either of those points and rotate it forward. I feel like, especially because we're taking this mid pipe off to put a new one on, I feel like we'll have enough room to get these 3 screws out that we need to and just rejet it on the bike as is. So we're gonna try that. First step is to take off the mid pipe. Okay, apparently I forgot to hit record, but the mid pipe is off. It's laying over there. It was super simple. It was just 1 bolt for the clamp right there and 2 nuts right there, and then it just pops right off. And now look at all this space that we're working with. You mean to tell me that we won't be able to do it just as it sits like that? I definitely have faith, but let's see. First, we need to come over to this side of the bike and turn the fuel from on to off so that when we're working on the carburetor, gas isn't just pouring out. And then while we're over on the left side of the bike, there's a screw right here that will turn to the left, and that should empty all of the gas out of the carb. You can hear it peeing right there. So that puddle right there is all of the gas that was stored in the carb. It just came down this tube right there and came out onto the ground. In hindsight, maybe I should have put some sort of bucket down there to catch it, since we have our propane fire pit out here that we light every night, but you know, whatever. And now that the carb is empty, we can take these 3 screws out of the bottom and see if we can get to what we need while it's on the bike. Now, this is definitely some tight space to be working with, but I feel like if we just use one of these things, you know, that like comes with IKEA furniture, that will have plenty of space. Yeah, dude, it just broke that free like it was nothing. Let's go, baby. So that was good for breaking it free, but now it's gonna be a pain in the ass to loosen these all the way with that thing. So the nubby screwdriver at least fits in this one. But now that this one is at least broken loose, I feel like, yeah, dude, I can just take this little thing from a drill and take it out. Okay, all 3 screws are out, and now can we... Dude, easy work, baby. All right, so far so good. We got this pulled off and out of the way, and then up here is where we're gonna be working. That's the main jet and the pilot jet that we're gonna be replacing. And I think if we use one of our little tight space IKEA things, we should be able to get it out. There is a slit in the end of that jet, and you'll spin it counterclockwise, righty-tighty, lefty-loosey, and then it comes right out. Let's go, baby, there it is. Okay, so this right here is our main jet, and it is a 105. I'm sure I'm going to butcher this explanation for all the people who actually know what they're talking about, but essentially the smaller the number, the less fuel it puts in, the bigger the number, the more fuel it puts in. And the main jet is the one that is responsible for like wide open throttle or like most of the stuff at high RPMs, the way that I understand, whereas the pilot is responsible for the fuel that it gets like as it's taking off. Again, I'm sure I butchered that explanation, but regardless, this is a 105. So now we're going to go to our kit, and from what I understand, we will need a 110. Some people have done a 115 and been okay. Some people have done a 115 and it bogs down. So I'm going to start out at a 110, and I think that should be the sweet spot. If we need more later and we figure that out, then obviously it's easy enough to just throw a 115 in. I'll link this in the description, but I got this set of jets off of Amazon for 10 bucks for all of them, and it has main jets and pilot jets, so this has everything that we need, and I think these might work on my Navi also, so maybe that's next. So the smaller, shorter ones there are the main jets, and then the longer ones here are the pilot jets, and you'll be able to see numbers on them that tell you what they are. So right there, you'll see this is the 140. That is way bigger than we need. And then this is the 110, which is what we're going to be using. And compared to the 140, I don't know if you can tell or not, but the 110's opening is much smaller than the 140 over here. So we'll come over here with our 110. Oh, close freaking call. Good thing I found that. I saw my life flash before my eyes, thinking that that was going to go to a crevasse where it would never be found again. All right, so you can see that we have the 110 screwed in right there. It's worth noting, Mishmash Moto pointed out on his video, which I'll link in the description also because his is way more in depth than I am, that sometimes when you take this out, this whole part comes out, and if that happens, you just put a wrench here and a flathead here and separate them and then thread them back in. So we have ours just kind of hand tight, and then we'll take our IKEA Special and snug it down. Then we got our pilot up here, same deal, IKEA Special up in there, and then we'll loosen it up. There we go. Is that enough to get it out? No. Let's try this trick again, since we can't turn the IKEA Special far enough. There we go. Okay, and there we go. This is the Pilot, and we got it out with this setup after breaking it loose. It's a little hard to read, but the one on the right is a 35, which is stock, and we're bumping up to a 38 on the left. And don't get me wrong, I'm definitely excited about upping the main jet to the 110 so that it has a little bit more fuel and isn't quite as lean at wide open throttle, but I'm definitely excited about bumping up to the 38 Pilot jet, because from what I hear, that should solve lots of our problems of kind of like taking a while to start and the fact that it has to warm up for a really long time, or else when you hit the throttle it kind of dies out. So hopefully this should fix all of our lean issues and it should run a lot better. So let's get this thrown in and test it out. Okay, so same deal where we'll take that and stick it in its home and thread it in by hand. Now it's at an angle where the IKEA Special can get up in there, and then we'll snug it down a bit more. Snug it down, but you don't want it to be like over tight. So far so good. Now that we have both of the jets in there, we got to put this bowl back on, and it does have this plastic piece in here, and that ends up going over the main jet thingy like so. There's a ridge right there, and that'll line up with that little opening there, and that circle piece will face over towards the hinge. So I think the best way to do it will be to sit it like that, like how it will go in there, and then slide it up, and then kind of keep an eye to make sure that everything goes in place. Okay, that should be it. Get these 3 bolts back tightened down. Make sure to tighten down this screw at the bottom so that all the gas doesn't come pouring out when we turn the petcock back on. Turn the petcock back to on and hope that gas doesn't come pouring out. Okay, so far so good. Give the bowl some time to fill back up with gas. And then even though the mid pipe is not on, I feel like I need to try to start it up real quick just to make sure that everything's back together properly. Oh, the bubble machine, but it does start, so that's good. Let's throw the mid pipe on now. I'm excited to show you guys what I got. Okay, so you remember when I installed the Yoshimura slip-on and I complained because it didn't match the black stock header? Well, check me out now. I got a matching header and a matching heat shield. And you might notice it's actually just the stock header, but it's been Cerakoted to match the Yoshi. Yoshimura obviously saw my video after I did the install of the slip-on, and they saw how I was kind of like not stoked that the header was black and the slip-on wasn't. And I was chatting with them, and they said that pretty much it just wasn't cost effective to put a header on there for the absolute minimal gains that you got out of it. They saw like a 0.1% increase in power with a different header apparently, and it just wasn't worth the extra like $100 they'd have to charge. But they were like, hey, send us your stock header and we'll just get it Cerakoted for you. So shout out to them. So we're gonna throw that on there. Should look pretty good. Get everything put back together, and then we'll finally go test this out and see how much better it is. Okay, she's back together and seems to be idling great. At least she is now. I can't lie, when I started her up just for a quick little test, I got a little bit worried because she was starting and idling, but it seemed like she was idling low like she has been, and then when I hit the throttle, it would still die like it did before. Seems more responsive. Why is it still doing that shit? But then I realized, if it's idling low, why have I never thought to mess with the idle adjustment screw? So I turned it about a quarter turn to the right, and it's idling a little bit higher now, holding idle fine, and it seems like it starts up just fine without a choke the way that it's meant to. So I gotta say, for my first time ever messing with a carb ever, this has been pretty simple, and I kind of understand, I don't want to say I understand the hype behind carbs now, but I understand why some of the old heads like them so much, because they are super easy to work on. But now it's finally time to get out on the road and see how she does. But don't let me down. Let me show you guys how she's totally cold right now. Okay, totally cold. No choke. Let's see if she starts. Dude, just like that. You guys know how many issues I had with that in the past, so I'm already super impressed. Now, let's get on the road and see how she does. Yeah, it's good. It's really good. That's the review. It's really good, and I'm really glad that I did this, and honestly, for that being the first time that I ever even saw the inside of a carb in person, I'm super impressed with, I don't want to say how well I did, but how well I did, you know? The fact that we didn't even have to remove the carb is incredible, and honestly, if I were you and I were doing this, I would just take the mid pipe off instead of taking off all those hoses and all the crazy stuff that goes to the carb. Just take the 3 bolts to the mid pipe off off, and then you have access to the carb right there, and you don't have to do anything but drop the bowl down. I just got done doing a nice little ride down to downtown, and this thing rips, honestly. I took it on the highway and everything, and I gotta say, overall, it didn't do as much to the top end of the bike as it did to the low and mid end of the bike, which is to be expected, but it's pretty crazy. I don't have any performance stats to compare this to like I did with the Navi, but I can tell you from the butt dyno, it definitely is an improvement. I wouldn't say that it's super more powerful or anything like that, but I'd say that it's, can you see that? Like so much more responsive, and also has like a lot more like oomph, like it'll hold at speed real nice. I was on the highway, like went over a super windy bridge and everything, windy enough that it was kind of sketchy. That wind is no joke. But I was holding, I think, over 60, maybe around 65 over the bridge on the highway in front of an 18-wheeler, and it even started flirting with 70 when I went downhill. So yeah, it holds at speed real nice. It'll do highway speeds no problem, and it's super snappy and responsive. So yeah, do it. Oh yeah, I just finished the video, but I was just sitting here and I thought of it, so I'm going to interject it right here. Another thing that I realized as a benefit to this, the bike was running lean enough from the factory that it seemed like at certain RPMs around 40 miles per hour and 50 miles per hour in different gears, it was almost like a little jittery, like a little stuttery almost, like it wasn't getting enough gas, and it does not do that now. So that's great. And another interjection, because it just came to my mind, it seems like when I decelerate, it doesn't like pop and crackle as much either, so that's probably a good sign. And just overall, it is so much smoother. Just, it feels like it's running so much healthier. So yeah, very good. What more can I say? Links to everything are in the description. Make sure to check out all my other XR150 videos as well. I have, what, 6 other bikes also, so if you're into this kind of stuff, go check out those videos too. I make videos of all the mods that I do, blah 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 blah. Shout out to the Patreon members for making all of this possible. Could not be doing this without you guys. If you want to sign up for Patreon as well, check out patreon.com/lifeofburch, where you can get behind the scenes access, early access to videos, and every time I do a video, dang, I was so distracted I forgot to take any Polaroids. I give away Polaroids from every single video, so I'm gonna go take one of those and I'll put it in the end screen so you guys can see what you're getting from this one. Like, comment, subscribe, blah blah blah. I love you guys. Thanks for watching and supporting. Peace.
Oh, so basic. Hope you play this. Damn, I prayed it. Nice song and I became this. Old souls fake it. Paid those placements. Fuck shit. And I'm still waiting on the brighter days. Been a minute, been rough many times more. And I'm kicking rocks to a sky of gray. Praying hard, talk to me before I'm done for.